Thanks for joining me here on The Schmidt Show on News Radio 1029 KARN. I am your host, Brad Schmidt. Thanks for spending another afternoon with me as we launch into the beginning of the second week of the craziest couple of weeks I've ever experienced in radio. There is so much going on and so much happening in our country right now. And I was asked earlier by a friend of mine how I open the show today. How do you open the show with all of the news that we've been bombarded with? What do you do to open the show? And I didn't really have an answer for him. I wasn't exactly certain what to say. I will start with this. I was wrong. I really, really, truly believed that Joe Biden would remain in the race until he either died or lost. I did not think Joe Biden would withdraw from the presidential race. I was wrong. I cited 1980 when I believe it was Representative Brooks from Maryland and Senator Ted Kennedy attempted a similar coup, if you want to call it that, against Jimmy Carter, and it didn't work then. I didn't think it would happen this time, so I was wrong. And so I want to admit that, acknowledge that. I was absolutely 100% off on that. I thought for sure that Joe Biden would remain in the race until he either died or simply lost in November. Now, that being said, I want to open the rest of the show, or I want to continue the show. I'm just going to read the letter from Joe Biden that he posted on Twitter, because we've still not seen Joe Biden. We've still not seen Joe Biden in public since making this announcement. He essentially broke up with us over text message, and we've still not seen anything from him. I believe Lauren Boebert has requested proof of life from the White House by 5 o'clock, suggesting that Joe Biden might be dead. I don't know if I buy that. But the longer we go without seeing him, the more questions are raised. And I think President Biden owes the American people, COVID or not, I think he owes the American people an appearance and an address to the nation. And so I'm just going to start with this. I'm going to read the letter from Joseph R. Biden Jr., dated July 21st, 2024. My fellow Americans, over the past 3.5 years, we have made great progress as a nation. Today, America has the strongest economy in the world. We've made historic investments in rebuilding our nation, in lowering prescription drug costs for seniors, and in expanding affordable health care to a record number of Americans. We've provided critically needed care to 1 million veterans exposed to toxic substances, passed the first gun safety law in 30 years, appointed the first African-American woman to the Supreme Court, and passed the most significant climate change legislation in history of the world. America has never been better positioned to lead than we are today. I know none of this could have been done without you, the American people. Together we overcame a once-in-a-century pandemic and the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. We've protected and preserved our democracy, and we've revitalized and strengthened our alliances around the world. It has been the great honor of my life to serve as your president. And while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and to focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. I will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about my decision. For now, let me express my deepest gratitude to all those who have worked so hard to see me reelected. I want to thank Vice President Kamala Harris for being an extraordinary partner in all of this work, and let me express my heartfelt appreciation to the American people for the faith and trust you have placed in me. I believe today, what I always have, that there is nothing America can't do when we do it together. We just have to remember we are the United States of America. Joe R. Biden. That's the letter. That's what he said. It's pretty vague. There's not a whole lot of detail in it. It's interestingly enough not on official White House letterhead or Joe Biden letterhead. It just simply reads at the very top, Joseph R. Biden Jr., the date, of course, the letter. There's already people calling into question the signature, that he has signed it differently, calling into question whether it is actually Joe that has signed it. I would love to see a handwriting expert try to explain or at least give us an explanation as to why this is suddenly different. Even from just a few days ago, there's somebody who's posted several pictures of Joe Biden's signature, and they are considerably different. If you look at the photographs or the scans of his signature, the J is very similar, just kind of a line. The R is entirely different. The B is entirely different. There's no junior at the end of it, and the most recent signature is underlined, which Joseph Biden has never done before. So there's some questions there. There's some conspiracy theories already floating around about that. I don't necessarily buy that. I mean, it's an important letter. It's something new. If you ever see my signature, if I've ever signed anything, you'll see that my signature is wildly different from day to day. I mean, like significantly different, because it depends on what I'm doing, if I'm in a hurry or if I'm signing a receipt at a gas station for a Coke and a candy bar, or if I'm signing a letter. They're generally different signatures, and not because I try intentionally to make them different. They're just different. I put a little bit more time. If I'm signing a letter or a document, I try to put a little bit more time into actually making it look like a legitimate signature. Whereas if I'm signing a receipt at a gas station, you're lucky if you get a couple of squiggly lines that approximate itself as a signature. So I totally understand that, but I would love to see a genuine professional handwriting expert analyze these and tell me what's different about them or why they would be different. The B especially is entirely different, and there's no junior. It almost looks like Joe Biden's, J.R. Biden's with an S at the end of it on this resignation letter or withdrawal letter. So certainly some questions there. Of course, it is historic moment that I don't know that I've ever heard of anything like this happening from any president in our history, withdrawing, less than 4 months, 106 or 107 days now from the election. It has literally been the craziest 9 days now that I have ever experienced in talk radio. I have never seen anything this nuts before. I am absolutely, I'm shocked, to be honest, with all of the assassination attempt against Trump today, and we'll get into this today as well. The congresswomen and congressmen and senators and things grilling Director Cheadle of the Secret Service, and all of the crazy that's gone on with that. Joe Biden withdrawing from the race yesterday. This is literally the probably the craziest 9 days I've experienced in doing talk radio. About the only thing that I can think of that has had as much of a historical impact on me in my entire lifetime would probably be 9/11. That's about the only thing I can think of over the last, 48 years of my life that has been as historically significant as what we've witnessed in the last 9-10 days or so. Absolutely in shock. And so, again, for those that I said on Friday, you were crazy for thinking that Joe Biden was actually going to withdraw. I apologize. I was absolutely 100% wrong, and I thought for sure that Joe Biden would be hanging in there. There's now reports also coming out that there's been some strange requests by the FAA restricting flights over Wilmington, Delaware. And the restriction is for, quote, VIP movement, which is not uncommon for presidential movement. So, maybe Joe's getting ready to fly back to the White House because I think that's where he's been, is up in Delaware, riding out the whole COVID thing. That's why we haven't seen him. So maybe this just means he's flying back. Others, of course, are building upon all the conspiracy theories that, his health is declining and it's a medical emergency or something, but we just don't have any real proof of anything at this point. There's been some discussion that Joe Biden allegedly had a health emergency on Air Force One, leaving Las Vegas, last week or whatever it was. So, yeah, it has been one of the craziest experiences I've ever had in talk radio, and I'm looking forward to talking with you all about it in the hours to come, and we'll do that as we continue with the Schmidt Show next on News Radio 102.9 KARN.